Hello, everyone. Welcome to the College Application Hub. My name is Alp Turgut, and today I'm going to give an introduction to who I am and also what this channel is going to discuss in the future. So, I applied to colleges in the 2019-2020 cycle, so just last year, just before COVID, and I applied to 49 schools in total. So yeah, that's a lot of schools, and that's not really the norm. But I was actually aiming to get into BSMD programs. So I applied to 18 regular schools and 31 BSMD programs. And um, what BSMD programs are basically, um, they are programs that combine medical undergraduate years with medical school. So they can range between 6 to 8 years, and they just guarantee a position in the medical school as long as you fulfill some basic requirements like GPA, and in some cases like mine, MCAT. And these programs have existed for a very long time. Some of them, like Penn State, uh, till since World War II, in order to create more doctors. But they have been increasing in number and increasing in popularity in the last few years, especially as medical schools have become more competitive because the number of seats are remaining the same, but the number of applicants is skyrocketing, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. Interesting to note. A lot of people speculated that it would be less, but actually the number of applicants increased by 17%. That's a huge jump in just a single application season. And so I got into five BSMD programs. So I got into California North State University BSMD program, Hofstra BSMD program, Union College Albany Medical College BSMD program, George Washington University BSMD program, and lastly, the program that I'm currently attending, the MSAP program in University of Alabama at Birmingham, so UAB. And these, it's important to note that while the undergraduate components are not really that competitive, the BSMD programs are themselves are really competitive. They usually tend to have less than 5% acceptance rate. George Washington, if I remember correctly, has between 1 to 1.5% acceptance rate. That's tremendously low. That's even lower than Stanford and Harvard, which have the lowest acceptance rates among regular schools. But I was also accepted into some other regular schools. So I was accepted into Princeton, Northwestern, Purdue, and Vanderbilt. But also some less competitive ones like Northeastern, SUNY Binghamton. I applied there as a safety, and Case Western. Um, and it's important to note that for nearly most of all my schools, I applied as a biomedical engineer or a bioengineer. Um, and This includes my BSMD programs because you have to apply to the undergraduate components as well. So this channel is going to focus on the strengths of my application and the weaknesses of my application. So first, I'll address two of the biggest weaknesses that are outstanding to me right now. So first, I applied as an engineer, and there's no problem in that except the fact that as I always wanted to do BSMD in medicine, not 100%, but most of my application was geared towards medicine and the BSMD program. So there wasn't a lot of engineering related activities on there. And so this might have presented some issues when I was applying. There's also the fact that due to the sheer number of schools that I'm applying, I just didn't have the time or money to visit schools. And I also had a lot of things on my plate, volunteering and also clubs and research and just number of APs. I took 7 AP classes in my senior year, so I just didn't have time. So I didn't visit any schools. I think that some schools say that they are interest blind, but I believe that in the over the entire number of schools that I applied, I think it might have had some effect in from getting rejected from especially some lower tier schools. So this program. but my application also had some strengths, and I'm going to discuss, especially in my resume. In my resume, while discussing my resume, I'm going to discuss what you have to do, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade in order to kind of build yourself up to not just BSMD, but also regular application strength. And I think some of my strengths in my resume come from especially my volunteering. As a prospective medical student, I did a lot of hospital volunteering. I briefly worked in EMS. Um, I volunteered in a nursing home. And I think most critical one was that I organized a donation drive for Syrian refugees in Turkey. And um, I also had other strengths, such as research. I conducted research in the Feinstein Institute in Northwell. I also conducted research in Turkey about. I created a survey about headaches, um, and I also had medically relevant experience, such as I did a lot of shadowing, a lot of surgeries, and a particular surgery that I shadowed was endometriosis surgery, and through that experience, for example, I created a awareness campaign in my school about endometriosis. Um, I also had a strong academic background, as many of you do. I was the valedictorian of my high school. I did take 15 AP exams, and I only got two fours, and the rest were fives. Took the SAT, got a 1580. Two SAT twos, both of them are 800. So overall, I had a strong academic background going in. And as you can tell, and there are a lot of other things in my resume that I haven't discussed. For example, for my clubs, I did a soup kitchen, which club called Superheroes, like superheroes. And I did this club for 4 years, and I was the secretary in 10th grade, vice president 11th, and president eventually in 12th grade. So this was a great way to show my dedication to the community, as well as showing my leadership skills. What this channel is also going to show, as many of you know, getting into college is not just about what you have on your resume and your scores and your GPA. Those are important components, and you can't really get into college without those. But it's important to consider that, especially for like top schools like the Ivies and for BSMD programs, most of other applicants have a strong academic and extracurricular background. So just having those not really going to help you. What really makes a difference, especially for regular schools, is having a strong essay. For BSMD programs, the essay is crucial, especially in getting the interview. But once you get the interview, interviews play a very crucial role. For undergraduate regular schools, interviews don't really play much of a role. They're still important and you should take them seriously, but it's not as hard and it's not as big in your application. So in this channel, I'm going to talk about how to write a good, first of all, Common App essay, because that essay you're going to use for every single school, basically. And then I'm going to talk about the specific essays that you might have to write, especially, for example, if you're going to BSMD programs. I will talk about writing, for example, why medicine? Why do you want to go into medicine essay? I'll also talk about how to write, why this school, and that's an essay that you're going to see frequently across the board, not just for BSMD programs, but for regular schools as well. And lastly, I will talk about how to conduct yourself at an interview, how to ace your interview, especially for BSMD programs, because there are different types of interviews that you're going to encounter over time. So I wanted to create this channel to give all of you a resource on how to apply, because of course, as a human being, I had failures along the way, but it's very well known that you can learn from your mistakes as well. I want all of you to have the capability to learn from my mistakes and also to learn from my successes. I consider my application season a success because I got into several programs and schools that have low acceptance rates and that I really wanted to get into, and now I'm on the track to becoming a doctor, which is my goal. Um, a lot of us have parents or guidance counselors that are really involved in the process, but the problem is they might not always know the most important details on how to apply properly, or they might have misconstrued ideas. That's a problem with a lot of guidance counselors, and especially with parents. A lot of parents don't give the best information, don't give you the best advice about how to write an essay, for example. And guidance counselors, while they're very knowledgeable in many areas, they haven't actually applied themselves to college in many many years, and so they might not be in touch as well as some students that have applied recently. So I hope that you guys can use this channel as a way to modify your application, and also as a guide to your application, and to understand how to uh, finish out strong, especially during the interview season. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed this video.